Cool. I've just seen that now. So welcome everybody to this workshop called Networking in Style. And my name is Summer Young, and I'm going to take you through the materials today. And also, hopefully, this is going to be a little bit more of an interactive workshop, and I'll invite your participation at the right time. So I wonder what happens when you think of the word networking. Now, chances are you could be like this left-hand side lady, being a bit frazzled, a bit overwhelmed when you think about networking in a big, big room with full of people. Or you could be like this other person who, sometimes forgets what other people are called after a networking event, and you feel quite, again, overwhelmed perhaps from this sort of event as well. So what we will talk about today is very much close to my heart because I've experienced all of this basically when I went networking before. And I wonder if these fears sound familiar to you. So you don't really know who to talk to or what to say first at an event and when you meet someone new, and hating to speak in a group and thinking that, you know what, I'm just going to attend and be there and kind of shy away from everything in a little while. And perhaps you really want to connect with people, but actually having this fear that they seem so much more experienced in a field that you want to be in or you are in. And actually wanting to join the conversation, but ended up awkwardly butting into conversation. Now, I've had all of these fears before as well. So what we'll be looking to achieve today is really thinking about these fears as we go into networking. So talking about these gremlins that we face when we network, and perhaps discover your own style in networking as well. So thinking about what fits you the best and how we could tailor that experience for you so that you could go into a networking event and perhaps, different style networking events a little bit more comfortably. And one way of doing this would be shaping your stories with confidence. And we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. And at the end of the day, hoping that you could take away one practical action to help you improve your networking. So I understand that's quite a lot of material in here, so feel free to ask me questions if you think that anything is unclear. So this is a QR code that would appear in subsequent pages. Just feel free to scan it and fill in the form and ask me a question, and I'll endeavor to answer this after the workshop as well. And obviously, also, you could use the chat box function in here as well if you do have a burning question you want answered basically during the workshop. So here am I. I'm a life and career transition coach, and I help people who are normally from multicultural background to make changes in their career. So be it maybe like promotion or change in role within your current company, or perhaps if you want to transition into a different field all in total. So I help people navigate these challenges and find confidence in what they do. So bit about my background. So I grew up, I was going to say, but I actually was a management consultant to start with at the very early start in my career. And I worked across a variety of industries, including transport, media, central government, policing, and so on. And I've also had in-house experience as a project delivery professional. So I was working as a business analyst and later on as a product owner at John Lewis as my latest corporate role. I'm connected to close to 2,000 people on LinkedIn. Now, to some people, this may not feel like a big number, but what I'll say is half of this actually comes on after networking and actually growing my network in the past year as a business owner. So it just goes to show that it's very important to kind of really harness who you already know and also network with others that you may not know already. And normally I go to 1 to 2 networking events per week. That's not to say everyone needs to do this or needs to do it via this frequency, but this is what I do. And I do that locally and also across the city and virtually as well. So there are different ways of networking events that I've seen that has worked for me. So my story in networking, I started my career as a management consultant, as I said, but my story of networking really started before then as I was studying. So I was in uni, I actually was in a committee for a Chinese society. And I had a role of being the external secretary there. And that's where I learned that actually networking is so important because I need to recruit new members for my society, but also I need to talk to sponsors for my society as well. And that's where I really harnessed some of the skills and foundations on networking, and I didn't realize it. Obviously, when I went into my career as a management consultant, that networking looked quite different. And I was then really forced into outside my comfort zone to talk to people that are a lot older than I was, and also perhaps had a lot more knowledgeable than I was. And I found myself really having this confidence barrier, really shying away from talking to people at networking events and really blending into the background and feeling that I'm just, part of furniture, perhaps a part of the wall. So this really challenged me as I became a business owner. Now, this fear of networking sometimes is still with me, But I found that the more I practiced, the more I learned from these events, and the more I was able to speak more confidently about what I do, and also embrace a little bit the environment that I'm in as I go into networking events as well. So hopefully that story does resonate with some of you. But I guess, one question that I want to ask everybody is, well, why are we connecting with others? Why is it important to network? And this is where I'd like to invite you to perhaps type into the chat box to see what your reasons are for networking. So let's have a read. Yep, thank you. Helping with your job search. Yep, absolutely. What the others say? Ooh, typing business development, creating opportunities. Absolutely. Yep, personal growth, getting ideas. Yep, liking that. What else? Keep going. Supporting each other. Yes. Yep, very important. Yep. Challenging your own thinking. Yep. Yep, broadening horizons. Yeah, I really like that. Yep. Learning, yep, learning to discuss as well specifically, and getting diverse perspectives. Yes. So I could see that everybody, knows why you're networking. And some of these reasons are going to be really resonating. So new opportunities, as some of you've said already, seeking feedback, validation, confidence, sometimes actually hearing what you've put to others may be helpful too in a networking event. Seeking support, absolutely. As a business owner, I can absolutely testify to that. New ideas and perspectives, developing new relationships as well. So finding new connections and maybe also maintaining that going forwards. And I guess the important thing to remember here is that your network influences you, and also you also have an impact on your network. It's always going to be a two-way thing, and don't see it as something that you're just going in and kind of having to receive something from it, because you do have an impact on your network too. So we know why it's important. So why exactly are we shying away from doing it? What exactly are we afraid of? So this is where we talk about our gremlins a little bit more. And I don't know if anybody follows Amazing If. Hands up if you do, or don't know how you raise your hands. Cool. If you don't, then please do. So Helen Tupper and Sarah Ellis are the authors of a book called Squiggly Careers, and they run a podcast called Amazing If. And they've got this book called Gremlins that I've kind of, taken bits out of as well for this workshop. But essentially, they described gremlins as the beliefs that hold you back and the doubts that get in the way of your development. And I think it's really worthwhile remembering that everyone has one. So it's not something that you're facing alone as well. And there are different types of gremlins that we have basically as we go into networking, or as we even just think about networking. So first of all, the likability gremlin. So thinking that others may not like you in a certain situation. The presenting gremlin. So thinking that, gosh, even like me doing this presentation now, I don't really know how to get my point across, and I may not be on point. The spotlight gremlin, feeling that everyone's looking at me as I'm speaking. And that might happen if you go into a networking event where everybody needs to go around and kind of talk about what they do. The imposter gremlin, feeling like fraud, that you don't belong here, perhaps. The comparison gremlin, it's very, very much linked to imposter, but feeling that perhaps you're not as good as others. And particularly if you're early on in your career, just feeling like you don't have as much knowledge or wisdom that others might have in the room. And also the failure gremlin, so don't wanting to get something wrong, especially if you feel like you're very specific or very niche in what you do. Don't want to get it wrong so that you damage relationships as well. So different types of gremlin, let that sink in a little bit. But what I'll now ask you to do is to break into the first breakout room. So Kevin, if you may as well. So this is what I'll ask you to do. So think about the types of gremlin that you can most identify with. And for myself, I identify with multiple. So sometimes I feel like an imposter. Sometimes that's kind of fueled by comparison, especially if there's someone who's also a coach perhaps in the room and I compare a lot to that person. Perhaps sometimes I do have a bit of like a presenting a spotlight gremlin when I need to speak out loud and, speak in a public environment. So think about the different types that you identify with. And also think about what grows your gremlin. So what are the fear triggers for you? Is it a certain type of people? So early on in my career, for example, I find that I fear and, I struggle to speak to people who are much more high up than I am, regardless whether they're male or female. And I think that has been a bit of a, fear in any networking event that I went to. And that's kind of stuck with me. So think about, there are certain people that may be, growing your fear. And if there's any past experience, also places that may trigger your fear as well. And then thirdly, how do you cage this? So start with a sentence of, it would be great if. So for example, it would be great if I change the environment that I'm networking in so that I feel much more comfortable in speaking out loud. So that's just an example to share. So breaking out into pairs, think of all of these. If you haven't got a screenshot already, please do, so that you've got that on your screen as well as you go into breakout rooms. Good, good. Welcome, everybody. Feel free to stay on camera as you wish. But yeah, hopefully you've had a good discussion around your gremlins and how you tackle that. And I acknowledge also in the chat that I think some people needed to go at one, and that's completely fine as well. Feel free to fill in that form so you get the slides and you can read on, and also the recording I think will be made available. Cool. So let's go back to this then. So hopefully you had a good discussion around which type of gremlins that you can most identify with. What we're going to talk about now is the different styles of networking so that you could find a style that matches you and also effectively helps you cage your gremlin as well. So I always want people to think about networking a bit more strategically. So not just thinking about how we cage our gremlins in a networking situation, but actually what are the types of connections that are you looking to build? So for example, if you're a business owner versus if you're working for a corporate already, but you wanted to change roles, the types of connection that you're looking to build could be very, very different. So the types of networking events could then become also quite different. And also think about this again as a two-way street. So what support can you offer to others? And also what type of support are you hoping to get? So not just hoping to kind of get something from the event, but thinking about your skills and also your background. Is there something you could offer to others as well? And quite often this could be, a connection that you could bridge between the two people. Or, there could be other things perhaps from your skill set that you could offer to others as well. And there are so many ways to network. I know we talk about networking as if, there's only one way to do it. This is a networking event you got to go to, maybe these big conferences that are a bit scary. But actually, reaching out to old friends, colleagues, and weak ties is a really amazing way to network. And particularly thinking about the weak ties that you already know. So perhaps from your past jobs or even from your schools. Are there people that you know already, don't necessarily talk to every day, but you could always reach out to in your network and maybe tell them a little bit about what you do, reconnect over coffee and start from there. You can always get to know the friends of friends as well. And I think, this is a great relationship building technique. If you already know someone that says, well, that perhaps, already knows your friend and is in a very, very established network, why don't get your friend to introduce you to them so that you expand your network, second degree and even third degree. Okay, for a coffee with someone in a work event, or a work network could be quite helpful. So it could be a physical one, going down to just have a chit chat, or, it could be a virtual one too. Working with others in the communities that you already belong to. So this is a great community already, the Reed Women in Technology Network, but other networks as well that you're building, working with others in other communities. Building connections, in leisure environments. So thinking about, is there a gym class or yoga class or something that you already go to? That could be a good place to have a leisurely conversation, but also maybe find out a little bit more about what people do so that be intentional about your network as well. And of course, attending a networking event. And also being in a co-working space. And interestingly, I've just been in a virtual co-working space this morning, and actually that was a great way to network too. So find out about these different ways to network and be very clear on what suits you. And there are different levers to pull on this. So is it, more of a group setting that, makes you feel a little bit more comfortable to speak out, or is it a one-to-one? Does it have to be planned or spontaneous, formal or informal? Physical, virtual, familiar, or something that's quite novel. So if you enjoy, for example, going to a completely new place and that really excites you, maybe that could be something that you look forward to in a networking event. And does it have to be targeted at random? So do you want to target certain people that you just have to talk to and you want to really aim at these people? So for example, if I wanted to get into HR, I want to go to an HR conference, that could be quite a targeted event that I go to. Or actually, I just want to go to a random social event and really tell people what I do and see if any connections could refer me to potential HR people. So that could be another way of doing it as well. So be clear on what suits you. So very quickly, we're going to do another round and perhaps with different people as well, if that's possible, Kevin. I know a couple of people need to drop off and that's fine. So in your twos, talk about what would be your intentions in networking. And then secondly, which ends of the levers are you at? So out of these different groups, so group or one-to-one, etc., which end are you at? And then how might thinking about these help you cage your gremlin? So for example, if I have a fear in presenting, actually a one-to-one setting and a planned setting may help a lot, right? So how do I find out about these events? And if you were to craft the perfect networking event for you, what would it look like? So have a go at that. Again, 8 minutes. So we'll take it that is around 1 at the moment, and then we'll bring you back at 7 minutes past 1. So hopefully that has been a good conversation again. Yeah. So let me just share my screen again. Oh, someone has left.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Right, let's get back to it then. So just an invitation to think about networking differently again. I think one question that I always tell myself is awkward how. So sometimes we think networking is awkward, we reach out to people and it's a little bit awkward, but how exactly? And chances are we're thinking that it's awkward. The other person doesn't think so. So it's a challenge that you put to yourself. And again, how can I give this to this person? So what can I give this person? Is it some support that I could have from my skills, or is it something else? Or maybe helping them build connection. That's one way of helping too. And in doubt, be curious and ask questions about what the other person does, and also be genuinely curious about what they do as well, asking better questions about it. Detaching yourself from the outcome, because sometimes we go to these networking events thinking I want to get something out of it, and sometimes we are disappointed because we, for example, don't land on the job. But detaching yourself from the outcome and really thinking about, okay, so how can I then harness these connections I've built and then maintain these, and know that it takes time to feel more confident as well. So as you network more, you get more out of it, and also you would see yourself become more confident too. So the third arm is going to be telling your story. So how do we tell our story succinctly so that people understand what you do and could now offer help? So as any story goes, or any pitch goes, it needs to be concise, compelling, and also evokes curiosity. And one model that I do this is to use this narrative model. So this is really for coaching mainly, but actually any narrative is shaped this way. So first of all, you have a situation. And then you go deeper into the inner selves of the characters. So in this case, yourself as an actor of the story. What are you searching for? And then how does this shift? Perhaps there's some beliefs that may change. For example, if you're a career changer, you realize that something needs to change, and then this is what you require as a shift. So talk about that as you tell the story to the other person. And then subsequently, what are the actions that now helps to sustain you? Now, I know that probably sounded a little bit complicated, and feel free to, again, ask me a question on this if you're not clear, but these questions might help. So first of all, thinking about the situation, what is the context of my role? So thinking about your role, I am in this role and my job, I help certain people to solve problems with maybe a certain solution so that they achieve certain things as a result. And that's a really good way to put your situation in a very, very succinct phrase. Now, the search happens when you then talk about why am I having this conversation? So what brought me to this event? What exactly am I searching for? So is it to search for perhaps potential opportunities to test out certain ideas? Or, is it to build connections? What are you searching for? And then the next one is what do I want to change? So perhaps I want to change my role currently, or I want to change my perspective for certain things. So what exactly are we looking to change here? And what is your priority? And then the fourth point is around sustaining. So what is the question to the other person that helps you to sustain this conversation? And sometimes we think about pitching as a one-way thing. We just tell others about it and, leave it, in midair so that people kind of just then float back to you as they want to. But you could always ask a question around, okay, what exactly I'm looking for in terms of support, or what is it that would drive maybe further curiosity around what you do and also what they do as well. So the aim is to, again, build a connection and build a relationship. Does that make sense? Just looking in the room, seeing if there are nods. Yeah, cool, brilliant. So again, I'm going to break you into breakout rooms, but this time, maybe spend the first 3 minutes writing out your story. So this needs to be just 30 seconds, very punchy. Follow all these points and see what you got. And then spend the rest of the 5 minutes discussing the outcome. Good. Hello, welcome back.
Hello, hi.
Hello, great stuff. Cool. How was that? Any thoughts? Or has that been helpful? Maybe nod of heads. If you're not nodding, maybe a reaction or a yes in the chat box or no. Cool. Amazing. Cool. Well, thank you for doing that. Oh, amazing. Oh, I've got a heart. It feels so nice. Thank you so much. Cool. So I guess in a nutshell, right, with these stories, remember to practice. So it doesn't come naturally to all of us. Like I'm from an Asian background. I wasn't trained in storytelling, and sometimes I find that very, very hard as well. But maybe do a little bit of a trial with those you trust, go to someone that you know, maybe at work, and tell your story and see what they feedback with. And maybe considering speaking to a coach or mentor and practice your storytelling. And remember that is a process. So it doesn't come in a fortnight. And also, you're not alone. Tons of us go into networking events feeling very, very shaky, and all these gremlins show up. But the more we practice, the better it gets. So what we've learned today, we've identified our gremlins, learned to maybe cage it, or at least attempts to cage it, and also identify ways to network authentically. You don't have to always do it in a very, very big group setting physically. It could be a virtual thing, it could be one-on-one thing, it could be very, very different depending what your style is. And we also created our 30-second stories to maybe open a conversation that leads to maybe further relationships. So I want to ask you in the room now, so what is the one action that you'll take away today to make you feel more confident at networking? So perhaps type in the chat box if you may. Just one action that you take away for yourself.
Hi, Sidra here.
Hi, Sidra.
So the action
Hiya,
I'm gonna take,
Yep.
I mean, I missed the some of the parts in the middle because I couldn't see the presentation. But I think my takeaway is to just prepare before attending an event, setting up a target, who I want to meet to, and why, what my goal or purpose is. So my takeaway is that I'm gonna prepare and then go with an agenda, so I can make the most of it. So thank you for sharing everything. It was amazing.
Thank you so much, Sidra. I think that's such a great action to take away with, and one that we can always come back to. So brilliant. Thank you for that. And I can see others typing. So feel free to let me know what your action is to take away. Have a think about it. And I'd say as well, Sidra, just maybe a question to think about is, when is the next opportunity for you to be networking?
That actually I don't know. I haven't marked any future event yet.
Yeah. So something to maybe think about. Yeah, go on.
The opportunities are scarce for me.
You can come to our call at 4 o'clock if you like.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect opportunity. I think, yep, right in there, Kevin. Very good, very good. Yep. Cool. And Alexandra, yeah, preparation seems to be key. I would like to do it more often. Very good. Yes, practice makes maybe not essentially perfect, but practice makes it a lot better. Take initiative and contact as many people as you can.
Practice makes permanent, Sumi.
Permanent.
So
I like that.
It depends on the quality of your practice. It might be perfect, but whatever you practice will become reinforced. That will be how you do it.
Wow, I love that. Yeah,
sounds great.
It's the consistency that matters, isn't it? Love that.
Yeah.
Great input. Thank you. Cool. Does anybody else want to speak about their action?
Yeah.
Charlie,
when it comes to preparation, one thing I was thinking about was maybe I can think about different ways to ask the same things.
Yeah.
You normally know what you want to ask, but you don't think about how you may want to bring it across. I don't really do that, so at least it'll help thinking about it, even if we don't go with notes and papers. But
yep, absolutely. And I think sometimes actually others may have just heard your story once, but we've spoken about it so many times that we think it's really boring. But just bear in mind that actually others may only have come across it once, and they don't always see, for example, your posts on social media all the time. So never, be afraid to kind of repeat yourself. Cool. Brilliant. Thank you. I really enjoyed, everyone's input. Thank you so much for that. So lastly, as you could see my screen still, I would love to connect with you. So please go on LinkedIn and follow me there. It's just under the name Summer Young. And I'd love you to fill in this feedback form if you don't mind. And what this, And what this does, it really helps me to shape up basically the next workshops that I present. And also you get a chance to win a coaching session with me, a 2-hour coaching session with me. That's slightly different from the mentoring. But basically we could talk about your unique challenges to do with networking potentially, but also beyond as well. So I would really love you to do that right now if you can. It only takes around 2 minutes. But yes, I'd love to connect with all of you. And here is the slide. And also,
I'll share that with the ladies that have had to drop before the end of the session.
Thank you. That's so helpful, Kevin. And also, I've got a list of resources here. So if you want the slides, feel free to use that QR code and just message me and I'll send through the slides and you'll get all of this as well. Cool. Brilliant. But thank you so much. Were there any questions from anybody?
No, I just want to say a big thank you. That was really informative. And despite my audio issues, I had really great time networking, but also exercising and trying different things out. So thank you very much for your time and for preparing this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sandra, for being present as well. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yulia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Sidra. Thank you, Kevin. Yay. Thank you very much and have a great afternoon.
And you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.